Wow. How are you guys doing? Yeah, you guys are very quiet today. I don't know if it's because we're at the Royal Opera House or not, but compared to the last 10 years, I definitely see a more subdued audience. I don't know if the maturity of who we work with, and all of us clearly have aged in the last 20 years, but I hope you guys are excited, engaged, and realize how much each of you have contributed to India's development in the last 20, 30, 40 years. In fact, one of the organizations that attended our leadership program over the last 9 months, Jai Vakil, has been around for 75 years. And really, that's what today is, a celebration of groups that are 75 years old to the newer groups like Make a Difference, that are really looking at the challenges that we have in front of us and taking those risks, like Rohini said, partnering with government, like Praveen said, but really keeping outcomes and impact at the core. What's amazing to us is 20 years ago, when Neer and I were 24 years old, I guess we took a risk. We decided to leave our jobs in investment banking, to move to India and live here for the first time, and actually provide support to these NGO leaders that we knew were doing the heavy lifting, that were actually creating changes on the ground, that were from the same communities that they were trying to serve, with interventions that were tried and tested, yet for some reason, no one was giving them the flexibility, the long-term funding, and the managerial support for them to scale their interventions. And so what is new still today, and unfortunately not taken across the board with foundations, which is funding institutions, providing them managerial support, giving these organizations access to networks, to government, to partnership, still the sector as a whole has not moved down that path. We've been fortunate to work with givers from day one who give free, flexible funding to NGOs. This is something we did in '99, which we thought was unusual. Yet in 2019, unfortunately, the role of philanthropy, as Rohini put it, is not as risk-taking as it can and should be. We have donors that create bank accounts for where their rupees sit, that want specific reports of how to track A, B, and C, and that mandate that if an NGO gives a proposal 3 to 5 years ahead of time, every single line item 5 years ago needs to be maintained, versus actually focusing on what we all need to focus on, which is impact, and impact on the ground. And so for us, coming from a different sector, from a different country, from a different view of life, really, we brought some of the good practices that we felt we saw in the business sector, which was trusting entrepreneurs. Trusting that they know their communities, they are actually voices of those communities, and how do we provide then those organizations and those communities with access to funds, managerial support, and networks to enable them to thrive and scale. And so some of these organizations that you saw in the video are groups like Magic Bus that we took a punt for in 2000 and say, let's give them funding and support to enable them to start an organization which today works with 400,000 youth across India on a weekly basis. Let's provide $100,000 worth of funding to Akshay Patra in 2001 to decide about how they can scale from 1,500 children daily in Bangalore to think of a national model and provide them the hands-on support to set up a 501c3 in the US, enabling them to raise money, allowing their charity to grow and scale. We did these things not thinking about our egos, not thinking about Dasra, but as Rohini said, realizing very quickly, because we were only 24 at the time, that we needed to collaborate. We needed to respect those who were in the field, and we needed to bring different perspectives and areas of support that they may not have access to, but still, again, keeps the community, impact, and outcomes at the center of their work. And we've demonstrated time and time again with the organizations we've been so fortunate to work with and serve, that the second they are given the flexibility to put that at the core, they're able to scale. They're able to raise greater resources. They're able to influence the government. They're able to partner with other organizations, both within the nonprofit sector, some social businesses, corporates, government, media, academia, but they're actually able to have a field approach to not just demonstrate at a 400,000 number level or a million or even a 10 million number, but more importantly, take those demonstrations of scale, partner with government and civil society and the entire field to solve the problem. And so for us, our journey has really moved from scaling NGOs, which we still think is critical in this process, to actually solving problems. And you need that with institutions, Indian institutions. You need to give these organizations and these institutions, again, the flexibility and the trust to support them long-term and hire the management teams, put in the MIS systems in place, and really focus on the backbone and the infrastructure that they require to solve some of these issues. You also need to create and fund platforms such as Dasra, which brings people together and allows the conversations to even find which outcome that these groups work with. Whether it's child marriage, whether it's stopping fecal sludge to entering our water supplies, whether it's malnutrition, whether it's providing access to justice to our citizens, you need to have a field approach to what you do to really create systems change and, more importantly, affect the Sustainable Development Goals. And so I think it's upon all of us, givers, receivers, government, all of us that are here to serve. We have a mandate. We know what that mandate is. And I think the issue today is we're not taking enough risks. We're not being as bold and as ambitious as we need to be. And so from a Dasra perspective, 2 years ago, we actually revised our vision to a transformed India where 1 billion thrive with dignity and equity. And the reason we had the boldness, with 70 people at the time and now 110 plus individuals at Dasra, we had that boldness because it's not just us. It's all of you guys. It's individuals that we've participated in from 1999 till now in terms of helping you engage with each other, helping you put partnerships together, and helping you solve these issues at scale. And so when we talk about 1 billion, transforming India, thriving, dignity, and equity, this is something we think we can do, not as Dasra, but as a collective. And so throughout the day and tomorrow, we're going to be announcing partnerships we have with various organizations and at various stages, which really talk about what we need to do, not just giving lip service to collective action or collaborative action, but really to say, what are we as a country going to do today to ensure by 2030 we end hunger, we end poverty, we end child marriage, we commit to what has already been committed to in the Sustainable Development Goals, but we actually take a part and an active part in holding each and every one of ourselves accountable to those Sustainable Development Goals with the realization that there's 1 billion individuals in this country alone that depend on us. So thank you for being part of our journey. Thank you for being part of us. Thank you for being part of Dasra for 20 years. And we hope in the next 10 years we could actually sit here with some of those outcomes being achieved that we haven't been able to do so far. Thank you.